Hey, I'm Drew.
I feel.
And I'm Dave.
Spending time outdoors is growing in popularity, and for good reason. Life is continuously becoming more hectic, and to escape the hustle and bustle of life, many people are retreating and recreating in the wilderness.
Yeah, many Christians are beginning to notice the value of the wilderness and beginning to take advantage of it.
But some of them are asking, why do I have to go to the wilderness? Can't I just do the same thing right here?
Secular organizations have already begun to pick up on the timeless principles that can be learned in the wilderness.
First lesson that you can learn in the wilderness is humility. By being out in the wilderness, you have to learn your utter dependence on other people. And it just really takes you out of your comfort zone so that lesson becomes apparent.
Second lesson is primitiveness. You really can't bring your iPhone or Facebook out in the middle of nowhere. You can, but you're not going to get very good Wi-Fi. So, really, you just have to learn to carry everything you need on your back.
The third lesson is that of timelessness. In the wilderness, you aren't constrained by time. You don't have to have your date book or planner. You eat when you want to eat. You have fun when you want to have fun. You wake up when the sun comes up and you go to bed when it goes down.
Fourth lesson we learn from the wilderness is solitude. Being in the wilderness and in nature gives you opportunity to experience God. Just because you're get to quiet your mind from all the distractions, Facebook, TV, the video games and such.
And the last lesson that you can learn in the wilderness, according to the secular world, is that of a sense of caring. Firstly, you learn to care for nature so that you can return time and time again to enjoy it. And the second sense is to care for others. I mean, if somebody goes down on a backpacking trip, you have to carry all of their stuff, in a very literal way, learn to care for others by carrying their burdens.
Yet as Christians, the three of us realize that there has to be more than that. Romans 1:20 talks about how we come to know God through His creation.
God also uses the time in the wilderness to speak to us.
God's been using wilderness to speak to and transform people since the beginning of His relationship with us.
That's right. And Jesus valued the wilderness a lot as well. When His ministry became too difficult for Him, He often retreated into the wilderness to spend time alone with His Father.
Think about Jesus' ministry. Go to the gospel and see for yourself how much time Jesus spent in the wilderness with His disciples. Compare that to the time that He spent in the city. I think you'll be surprised about how much time you find that Jesus actually spent in the wilderness.
There's also tons of examples that you can use with experiential learning in the wilderness. You can compare the trail that you're taking to get to your destination to the path that God has laid out for your life, and how that leads you to the destination that God has set out for you.
The wilderness also gives us ample examples of opportunities to teach about and trust the dependence on God. As an example, this could be done with rock climbing, where you can relate the ropes to building hope and the trust that you have in God to keep you safe, and God's ability to lift us up and keep us safe when life becomes a little rough.
You can also take all five of those previous examples from the secular world and realize that what they're getting at are really very biblical concepts. Namely, in the first one at least, you could look at humility and see that in Proverbs 18:12. Before a downfall, the heart is haughty, but humility comes before honor. You could also use Matthew 10:9-10 to talk about simplicity. Don't get any gold or silver or copper to take with you in your belts. No bag for the journey, or extra shirt or sandals or a staff, for the helper is worth his keep.
You also see lessons of timelessness. One example is Elijah. He had a rhythm to his life. It's illustrated in First Kings 19. He's in a pretty hairy situation. He's running from Jezebel, and he's just running for his life. And he finally just kind of collapses under a tree, and God provides food for him there. And under that tree, he also gets rest, just because of his exhaustion. And then after that experience, he has this really amazing encounter with God, where he actually gets to hear His whispers. And I think it's because of that rhythm that he was able to open himself up to that experience.
Solitude also has a lot of spiritual implications. Luke 5:16 is one of the examples where Jesus retreated into the wilderness.
God was clear about his desire for us to care for his land. Leviticus 18:28 says, "And if you defile the land, it will vomit you out, just as it vomited out the nations that were before you." The Gospels are also very clear about how we are to care for one another. We believe that the wilderness has unique characteristics for teaching and learning. In fact, we all have plans to use it in our ministries in the coming year.
That's right. This summer I'm planning on partnering with a friend of mine who works for Youth for Christ. He's a chaplain in the juvenile justice system. And I'm planning on bringing some of my student leaders, and he's planning on bringing some of his students who are recently paroled from the juvenile justice system. And together we'll embark into the wilderness to learn and grow together.
And coming year, I plan on taking youth on some camping trips where I'll just allow them to kind of silence their activities of life and stop texting, and that it'll just hopefully provide an opportunity for them to experience God in a way that they haven't before.
I plan to use the wilderness in soul care. So many times it's hard to get lessons from your mind to your heart. And that's a big portion of what soul care is about. So I want to use experiential learning, like crossing rivers and learning humility, in order to teach, I think it's a great avenue to have access into people's hearts. That really, you could have some kind of experiential learning in the civilized world, but it's so much more accessible in wild nature.
So we're excited. We're excited to get out into the wilderness, and we hope that you too will allow yourself to find yourself in the wilderness and allow God to transform you and the lives of those who you're ministering to. See ya.
Woo!
That's our best one.